Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cosmopolite Collective. I'm your host, Diana Lortzen, along with my co host, Erica Goslin, and we are here with Tiffany Owens. We're so excited about this interview. She is going to be talking to us about her life as a travel blogger and the founder of Compact and Compass. So, hello, Tiffany.
Hi. So great to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And I'm especially excited because we are new content creators. We are still just in this space trying to figure out what are we doing here? How do we even get started? So I want to start with you and go over your background a little bit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do or actually maybe even more so, what were you doing when you decided to start Compact and Compass?
So I've always had a love for travel. Travel is my passion. I love talking about it. I love, experiencing travel and going to different places. So that's kind of always been something that I've enjoyed. And so, what really made me want to start the travel blog is because I started traveling so much and I was posting on social media. I was posting photos and I was posting information about my travels and just really sharing my story. That was really what it was in the beginning. And I received a lot of feedback. Lots of people were commenting, asking me about tips and advice that I could give them, and also just complimenting and saying, hey, that's a really cool place. I would like to go there. And I saw that it was really starting to inspire people. And so it was something I thought about doing for a long time. And then finally, I decided to make the leap in 2015 to start my travel blog page. And then I launched my website in 2016, compactandcompass.com. And yeah, it was just something I wanted to do to start inspiring people more and provide tips and tricks and just really share my stories with people.
It definitely inspired me. I know I would watch all of your videos and your photos on Instagram, and I kept going, "Oh, I want to be there. I want to go there." It looks like she's having so much fun. And I kept thinking, how does someone even get started in doing that? And so when I was kind of looking at your page and at some of your travels, I started thinking about if I were, just regular every day and I decided I wanted to start a travel site, what would I do? Like what did you actually do? What were the mechanics behind actually starting your site?
Yeah, so my background is in marketing. I got my degree, my bachelor's in marketing and advertising, and an MBA with a specialization in marketing. So I have a creative background. I started as a intern at a nonprofit as a graphic design intern. So that helped me with starting the website. I literally did everything on my own, which I wouldn't necessarily advise that because it took a lot of time and I do work
Mhm.
full time. But the way I got started was I researched a lot. There were some travel bloggers that I researched. I looked at, where they were going, how their websites looked. I also talked to other people who were like travel agents and just really getting an understanding of, what are the kind of things that people want to know. And I wanted to make sure that whatever I started was something that would be helpful for people because, again, I
Mhm.
wanted to do this as a way to share my experiences, to provide advice, and also to inspire people. So I started with researching, just looking at different websites. And then I built my own website. I kind of created my own design, but I use Fiverr. I think that's probably the only thing that I went to another service to get the logo
Oh, you
done.
used Fiverr back then?
I did. I
I use
did.
Fiverr now. I love Fiverr. The person who edits
Yeah.
my podcast is on Fiverr, and I love him. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's a great tool. It's inexpensive. There's lots of contractors on there that you can find who are very talented. So yeah, I use Fiverr. They help perfect my logo. I had the creation already, but they made it look a lot better. So I used Fiverr. That was the only service that I really paid for. Of course, I had to pay to get my website, but I created my website. I put all the content on there. I took all the videos whenever I would travel places. It was funny because when I think back, going to places, I would have my tripod, my iPhone, I would have a GoPro, just like a whole little setup. And I had a selfie stick too. Like it was so amateur. Like,
You were one of
but
those with the selfie stick.
yes. So I had all those items and I took all my photos, did all my editing. So I started off doing that. And again, it started with research and just learning. I really learned as I went the whole way.
That's so fascinating. Yeah, no, it's awesome because we are in that same spot where we're kind of new content creators and we're trying to find that balance between what do we do ourselves, what do we pay
Yeah,
for, how can we leverage our own talents to do as much as we possibly can. And also, as we travel, we've got a trip coming up in a couple weeks where we're going to Europe for about 2.5 weeks.
that's so exciting.
And we're hitting up about 5 different countries. And we're kind of like, what's the best way to capture content while we travel? So if you were us and you were going to Europe, how would you capture the content?
Yeah, so I mean, make sure you're documenting everything. The thing about it too for me is when I was traveling, it became work. So like
Mhm.
Mhm.
it's fun to travel, but then I have to remember, oh, I'm also collecting content. So I have to make sure I capture these moments. It's not just about me having fun. It's about me also capturing this so that I can share it with people and, have it for my blog. So make sure you're
Mhm.
documenting everything because once you get back to your home, then you may forget the places you went to, what your itinerary what was, the
Mhm.
things you liked and disliked about places. So I think documenting along the way, so keeping notes about that.
Mhm.
Also, I'm assuming that you'll probably be taking your own photos and doing your own videos, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
So yeah, just take as many photos and videos as possible, as much as your phone will allow you to take. Um, and yeah, just capture all the moments, document it. And that's really the main thing I would say. And then once
Okay.
you have an idea before you go, make a plan of like the top things that you want to accomplish while you're there, the top content that you want, and just have a vision of how you want things to go. Because each place I went to, I had a vision of, okay, this photo will look perfect at this angle, and this is the
Mm.
background that I want. This is the backdrop that I want my blog to be about. So,
Mm.
think about those things as you go, make a plan.
That's so smart. I never think about having a vision. I just kind of go and I'm like, oh, I'll take this picture. I don't really map out much in advance. But now that we're doing this, I feel like it's something that we've definitely got to keep in mind. And
Yeah.
you've been to so many amazing places. Can you tell us like one of the places that you've been to that has really kind of surprised you or that changed your life?
Diana, it's hard to just choose one, but I will choose one just for the sake of this. I would say Asia. Have you been to
Ooh.
Asia before?
I've been to Thailand.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been to Japan
Okay, cool.
as well as Thailand, but
Yeah, Thailand was beautiful. I'll say Asia was the area that surprised me. So I went to Asia twice. So the first time was in 2013, I think.
Mhm.
And I went as part of a study abroad group. I was in my master's program. So we went there. And so it was a group of us. And,
Mhm.
I was one of only a few Black people who were there. So I was very
Mhm.
surprised that first trip at first how few of us we see, and then the locals, they would stare at us and then also
mhm.
they wanted to take photos of us and with us, which I
Mm.
thought was kind of weird because I wasn't expecting that. I think that they probably thought some of the guys in our group were like rappers or something because they were like so
Oh.
excited to take
Mhm.
photos with the guys in my group and even me. Like some of them wanted to take photos with me. So I was very surprised of that on my first trip. And then also before I went, I think it was the travel agent. It was like our professors. They were trying to prepare us in order to take the trip. So they told us, make sure you dress conservative. If you're wearing dresses, wear tights or leggings or something. Just make sure you're
Mhm.
very conservative. But when we got there, people were not really dressed so conservative. So I was a little surprised about that
Mhm.
because some of the things that I saw, it was like, okay, well, we could have just not worn whatever, but we could have loosened up a little
Yeah.
bit with our
Mhm.
attire. And then the last thing that I thought about that was surprising is being so I was in China. I think I said that. I was in Beijing and Shanghai. And so they did tell us that in some places you literally have to use the bathroom in a hole or like the
Mhm.
toilet in the
I've
ground.
done that.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really, I guess I kind of expected it, but like to actually see it and have
Do
to use the
it.
restroom there, I was surprised. I wasn't used to it, never did it
I know.
before. So there were a lot of surprises on my first trip to Asia. And when I went back, I was like, okay, yeah, I expect them to want to take photos with me because, who wouldn't? But
Mhm.
Right? There you go. No, it's so
Yeah.
funny because I went to Turkey. I was in Istanbul and I remember I had to pay to use the restroom. So I go to the restroom and it was a hole in the ground. And I actually had it was supposed to be a handicap restroom. And I guess that just meant the hole was bigger. So I was like, what is going on here? And I could not believe that I had to pay to go to the bathroom, like in
yeah,
a hole in the
in a
ground. But
hole.
that
Yeah.
is the
Mhm.
reality. Like I've done it before. I mean, if I'm in the right location, I'll do it again. But it's
Depends
not
on how bad you want to go.
right if you got
Yeah,
a little bit of help.
exactly.
Okay, so I'm just kind
Yeah.
of. But that's interesting though. So how do you decide where you want to go, and then once you decide, how do you plan out your travel itinerary?
It's really funny because a lot of times I decide on where to go based off of travel deals that I find. So
Oh.
if
Mhm.
I see a good
So do
flight
we.
deal, I might just book it. Like I don't have any big flight benefits. I don't have anyone that I'm able to get their their flights. So when I see a good travel deal, I book it and go. And luckily, I have really good friends who love to travel just like me. They have
Mm.
flexible schedules, they work remotely. And so oftentimes I can find at least one or two friends who are willing to go. But oftentimes, again, it's based off of the travel deals that I find. Now I do have a travel list of like the top places I want to go to. And
Mhm.
to be honest, it's everywhere. I just want to go everywhere. Everywhere that I can go legally, then I want to go.
She
um,
said legally. I'm
legally.
wondering why she specified legally.
Like
For safety reasons,
for
right?
safety
Yeah,
reasons. Like there's some places in Korea I don't want to go. I don't want to go to Afghanistan. Like some places I just
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. No, that makes total sense. And I'm like, why have we never gone on a trip before then? Like we should be going on a trip because as
I am
much as we all
down.
love to travel, we've got to set something up for the future here.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And then the second part of your question was how do I plan and set my
And you're,
itinerary?
mhm,
So it goes back to research. I research everything. So, and oftentimes it really starts before I actually book the actual flight. Just I check the government website just to make sure it's okay to go there. Again, that goes back to
Mhm.
safety. And then
yes.
I look on Google Travel. Google Travel has everything. It literally has the flights you can book. It has things to do. You can literally just
Mhm.
build your entire itinerary by going on Google Travel. I also use TripAdvisor and Lonely Planet. Lonely Planet is a
Mhm.
good
Mhm.
website that it will plan your itinerary for you if you just do the research and look at it. So it's a lot of sites that I use to find the things to do and plan out my itinerary.
And kind of going back to, I guess, like working, right? You work remote. So do you travel while you're working? I
Yes.
guess. Yeah.
I do. I'm that girl that has my laptop everywhere I go, on the beach,
Mhm.
in the hotel room, on trips. I pull out my laptop and I travel, and I have my laptop with me. And I do travel a little bit for work too. So I'm used to traveling domestically, mostly for work. And then, a lot of times I'm
Mhm.
traveling internationally for my vacations.
And
Mm.
I guess you mentioned earlier that sometimes blogging, travel blogging was work, right? Like you went to enjoy yourself, but you're also like, hey, I also need to take this picture, this video for content. And I guess how do you, find that balance between enjoying where you are in the present moment and also, taking pictures for content for your audience?
Yeah. It's challenging to find that balance. And with the blogging, I moved away a little bit from the blogging because of priorities, because of work.
Mm-hmm.
I started working a lot more. And so the blogging was very challenging to keep up with, on top of everything else that I was doing. And then, traveling to the different places. So it's really challenging to find a balance. I have to take days off from work sometimes just so I can enjoy the experience, because I don't always want to travel with my laptop. I'm going to Cuba in a couple of weeks, and I am completely going off the grid because you kind of have to when you go to Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, but I think it's good to take off time for work, not only for the mental part of it and the emotional part of it, and just having a good balance. So I do take off that time whenever I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm getting burnt out and I just need a complete break from work.
I'm so jealous.
Same. I mean, I wish I could do that.
I wanted to go forever though.
What? You don't take off time?
Well, I mean, we do, but also we wish we could take off more time
Yeah,
to travel. I mean, like when I talk to my friends that live in different countries, especially in Europe, they have, month-long vacations.
yeah.
And we're here in the US with, 10, 15 days, if
I
that,
know. I
So,
agree. And some companies offer sabbatical too. So that's something to
mhm.
look into for, my company doesn't have sabbatical, but
Uh,
I do have friends who have taken sabbaticals, and I'm a little jealous that they have that.
yeah.
But I think it's needed.
I've actually seen jobs lately, I'm not kidding, that are like, as one of their benefits, they say you get 2 weeks to work from wherever you want. And
Mm.
that's one of the benefits. They're like, it literally, it was like, you can work 2 weeks from wherever you want, do you. And I was like, what? That is,
I
it's
love
not even
that.
like part of your vacation time or anything like that.
Yeah.
You can just work from wherever you want in the world and they're fine with it. And I'm like, that is an amazing benefit.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think a lot of companies really had to be more creative, especially after
Hmm.
COVID. People
Mhm.
are getting burnt out, and then, we're having to like work remotely during COVID. So they had to find creative ways to keep people and attract more people. So I think that's awesome.
Yes. I'm curious. So as a black travel blogger and an influencer, have you ever kind of stumbled into any challenges while you've been traveling? Anything that maybe surprised you while you were going to different countries that you might not have thought would have happened?
Thankfully, I have not had any big things happen. Thank you. But there have been, like I said, in Asia, people staring and wanting to take pictures of me because, of course, they, we're different over there. It's not
Hmm.
that many of us. So I get that. There was an experience that I had in when I was traveling from Buffalo, New York to into Toronto. So I had to cross the border, the Canadian border. So I was stopped. I was searched. I was like they searched my car. They questioned me, and I
Hmm.
don't know if it was because I was black. I couldn't. I don't know, but like other people were going by and I'm like pulled off to the side and they're like questioning me and like literally had to search my entire car. So that was weird. And I was by myself traveling into Toronto. The questions that they asked me were like So why are you going to Toronto? And I was just taking a day trip just to go in. I went to Niagara Falls and then I went to Toronto just to drive and hang out.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of my answer. And I guess they didn't like it. And so they kept asking me the same thing. So
Mm.
that was a really weird and intense experience, especially being by myself at the time. And
Yeah.
then there's been times when I've gone into like Mexico, and they've searched my bags while other people walk by. So just those experiences where, I'm getting searched and like everyone else is walking by. I
I've had that
understand that
happen.
people have to
Mhm.
do their jobs, and I'm not sure like what kind of requirements um, they had to go through to get to me to want to search me, but that has happened several times with me being searched and my bags being
Mm.
searched.
One thing I have to ask you, so this is totally off topic from what we were just talking about being searched and all of those things. But girl, you have the best fashion sense.
Oh,
I
thank
have
you.
your pictures, your photos. I mean, you like you dress to impress, basically.
Oh,
So
thank
I'm
you.
curious, how do you decide what to pack while you travel? Like, what is your packing game? How do you, I mean, all your outfits, every time I see your pictures, I'm like, damn, she looks fly in that out. Like, what is going on there? How do you decide what to pack? Like, how do you pack? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I try my best to pack light, but it's very hard, especially when I go on longer trips. So again, I go back to the research. I look at the weather, what the weather is going to be like while I'm there. And based on that, I like colors. I like pink and purple
Hmm.
are my favorite colors. So I like pops of color. And I like it goes back to the vision. So I kind of have a vision of what I want to see in my photos and also the places I want to visit. So sometimes I might think, oh, well, I think this outfit might be cute whenever I go here. And funny thing, whenever I went to Paris, I have a picture of me at the Louvre Museum in Paris,
Hmm.
and I got a little beret in Paris because I felt, oh, they wear berets in Paris. I want to try to wear a beret. And then I got like this colorful shirt, and I just pulled it together, and I felt like all artsy and cute in it.
Yeah.
So I just wear things that I feel confident in. I like pops of color. And then also I might sprinkle a little bit of the fashion that they have like in the area. So I try
Hmm.
to do a mix of my style versus, what I think their style is wherever I'm going.
Okay, so it's like premeditated
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
outfits and
it
Yeah.
definitely works.
I would say it's
mm,
premeditated.
no, we need
So
to start doing that.
you said you pack light. So is that like a one suitcase thing, or are you a two
I
suitcase?
try my best to do carry ons.
Really?
Only
I
carry-ons.
try. So it really depends on how long I'm staying. Whenever I went to Europe and I went to, I think it was in Paris and London, I was there for about a week. I was able to pack a carry-on. I use these travel cubes that help
Mhm.
compress
Mhm.
my belongings. I also roll my clothes as much as I can to like fit it
Mhm.
into like little small places. So I try my best to do carry-ons and like a little personal item. And
Mhm.
I do that because I'm one of those last minute people that show up to the airport like right in the nick of time. So there's been so many times where I almost missed my flight in another
Mhm.
country. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I try my best,
Yes,
like I
me
said, to
too.
carry on. But whenever it's a longer trip, I just have to do a check bag. But I roll my items and use travel cubes to really compress what I have.
Have you ever like lost your luggage? Is that why you only do a carry-on, or is it because you just want to travel light and a carry-on's really
I
small?
want to travel light and the carry-on is really small. I don't remember ever losing my luggage. I haven't had that
Okay.
issue. But yeah, it's normally just because I want to travel light and,
Mhm.
not have to be at the airport in such a long amount of time. And then also because it's easy to maneuver when you just have a carry-on. So like if I need to change my flight or something, then, I
Mhm.
have all my stuff with me and I'm good to go. It's easy.
I want to do that. it makes sense to me, but I'm like, I don't know how that could possibly happen. Like my
That's
hair
because we need to plan our outfits.
I
Yeah,
know. I'm always like the last minute packer that's throwing everything in, and I'm paying like $100 for my overstuffed bag.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's pretty bad. And all the just I don't take the time in advance, which I should, to put all of my liquids and things into those like smaller
hmm
travel size items so that I actually can take a carry on rather than throwing everything in there. So I definitely, I would love to see a video of you pack for a trip. Like, I think that is something that the audience would be really interested in is to see
yeah.
a video of you packing before your next trip.
I think I did a video like a long time ago. I think I may have put it on my story like a long time ago. It was like packing for. It was I think it was when I was packing for Europe, and I was there for like a week. Yeah,
And you did it all in one suitcase and a
yeah,
carry.
yeah.
So what about the shoes? Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so
how
with the shoes, I try to match my outfit. So like I bring shoes that will match a bunch of outfits. So that way I'm only
Mhm.
packing 2 to 3 shoes.
Yeah.
So like black, nude shoes. It just really
yeah.
depends on my outfits.
I would never guess because you always just look so classy and fly. Like all your photos, you're just like decked out. I would have thought that you would have been someone that has like two or three suitcases.
Especially with all your selfies and like your equipment too. Like,
I have the biggest carry-on bag that you can put on a plane. So it's a bigger bag. And then I have a pretty nice size personal item too. So I can
okay.
normally like fit things in my personal item, like my shoes and toiletries, and then my clothes and everything in like the roller bag.
So, solo travel. I know that you've gone on some trips solo, and it's something that I've done solo travel in the sense that I've gone places and like say I went to Jamaica and then I decided to stay 3 days later after my friends left. So I've done solo travel like that, but not necessarily where I plan a full trip and just go by myself. And I know you've had some trips where you've traveled solo. What made you decide to travel solo and what experiences did you have? Is it something that you would recommend? Is it kind of, I got to know myself so much better
Or
by
does it
solo?
depend like where you go to as well, right? Do you feel safer traveling alone as a woman in different countries?
I prefer to travel with my friends. Like I
Mhm,
prefer trips with, my loved ones and sharing those experiences. So I will say that I prefer that. So most of my trips are with friends and family. The times that I did travel solo, it was because, my friends or other people's schedules just didn't mesh and I had to just go. It was a place I wanted to go to, so I just went. And also because I think it was one other trip where something happened and they had to cancel their flight or something. And so I ended up just going because I didn't want to cancel my flight and have the late fees or have all the fees. So it was that, and I still was able to have a good time. But again, I prefer traveling with my friends. But you have those situations where you still end up going on the solo trip. I would recommend going to a place where you feel safe, doing the
mhm,
research
Mhm.
first, being in an area where you feel like you would be safe there. And I'm very conscious of my surroundings. So I definitely would recommend, just being conscious of your surroundings. I don't want to go anywhere like late at night by myself when I'm,
mhm,
traveling
Mhm.
solo. So I just really think about those things and just making sure that I'm safe wherever I go.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
safety is the most important thing. That's I think what detracts so many people from wanting to travel solo is just
Yeah.
that fear of what's going to happen. And for me too, I'm like you. I want to go have a meal with someone. I want somebody to
Yeah.
be able to take photos with me, that can, you know, share in the memories as I'm, navigating my way around different cities. So I do want to try the solo travel, like outside of what I've already kind of done. Um, and I've been following a lot of different influencers and things that do the whole solo travel, and they make it sound amazing. But then they're like, "Oh, I got mugged this one time in this country, and this happened," and I'm like, I guess that could happen even traveling
Yeah.
with someone else. But I think I need to work my way up there a little bit. But it's definitely
Yeah.
something I'm curious about.
Mhm.
Yeah, some people just love to travel by themselves. They love doing things by themselves. So yeah, more power to you to
Mhm.
Yeah,
to do that. And then some people don't have friends who want to travel to all those places.
it's
So
true.
so for people like that who don't have a friend group who's able and willing to travel, I would say look into travel groups. There's a lot of travel groups out there.
Mhm,
There's Black travel
mhm.
groups. There's travel groups, multicultural. There's all kinds of travel groups out there now, and so I definitely would recommend, getting with some people who are parts of travel groups. I've met some amazing people in the travel community just going on various trips. So I would definitely recommend that for people who may not have friends who like to travel as well.
Have you gone on trips, on travel community kind of trips, like with travel groups?
I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have.
I've never done that either, but that's also something I've thought about. Just kind of finding. How did you find the group? What made you do that?
Yeah, it was a friend. It was a friend who was part of a travel group, and she invited me, and so I decided to go.
How did you like the experience?
It was great. It was in Jamaica. It was one of my first
Oh,
trips
okay.
to Jamaica, and so it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of people.
Ooh, I
And
gotta
Jamaica's
try.
good vibes anyway. So how can you
Yeah,
not have fun
yeah,
Yeah.
in Jamaica?
yeah. I've been there a few times, and every time I go there, I have fun, for
Yeah,
sure.
I've been there, I want to say 3 times now.
Yep, me too.
Mhm.
It's definitely good vibes there. It's a good place to go, especially if you're going with a travel group for the first time. But I definitely want to explore travel groups a little bit more, just because, as you mentioned, sometimes I just want to get up and go, and there's no one to go with. And there's always a reason, right? Either people don't have passports, or they can't get babysitters, or they don't have the funds at the time, or they can't get the time off work, like whatever it is.
Mhm.
And sometimes I just want to go. Like, I once
Mhm.
I got bit by the travel bug, it was over. There was no stopping me. I was kind of like always, every time I come back from a trip, I'm planning my next trip.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
Mhm.
kind of how it goes.
It's
So
addictive, right?
it is so
Yeah.
addicting. For people that have not traveled, I'm like, just travel. That do you ever have that feeling of when, after you've gone on a really good trip and you're on the plane and you almost want to cry because you don't want to come home,
Yeah.
and you're just kind of like
Mhm.
on the plane and you're like, oh, it's back to reality,
Back
and
to
you just get.
reality. Exactly.
That usually happens if I meet someone really cute while I'm on the trip, and I'm like, am I ever going to see this person again? Like, what's going on?
Was that your
Have you
trip
ever
to
met someone
Jamaica,
on
Diana?
a, what'd you say?
Was that after your trip to Jamaica?
You know what? Actually, yes, one of the times was, but it was a Spaniard that I met in Jamaica. It
Oh.
was, I went to a hotel that had just, they had just opened a hotel, um, a little past Montego Bay and Lucy.
What was the hotel? Do you remember?
It was the Grand Palladium.
I stayed there. That was my trip
Did
when I went
you?
to,
I've stayed there twice. I
I
shouldn't
love
be
that
saying
hotel.
this because I'm just kind of there. I kind of fell in crush with a Spaniard, maybe two Spaniards. I don't, might have been two Spaniards. And I remember leaving on the plane and just being like, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go back. Like, I just want to
Aw.
stay. And I actually did go back like 4 months later. I know
Oh
it's
my
terrible,
Did you see the
but
Spaniard
anytime
on the second trip back?
Oh, was it the
I,
second Spaniard?
it was actually the second. Anyway, enough about the Spaniard. Yes, I did see them. The him, them.
Them.
Anyway,
Plural.
the point of the story is that sometimes you meet people on trips and you're just kind of like, I want to go back, which is why I'm looking forward to going back to Iceland.
Yeah.
Actually,
Wink,
we're
wink.
Iceland's
we're
amazing.
it is amazing.
Yeah.
It is so beautiful. Didn't meet any Spaniards there, but definitely met some Viking like folks that definitely would love to see again.
Yeah. Iceland is one of the most beautiful places I've been to. Like, it's just naturally beautiful. And I have this fascination with waterfalls. Like, if you
Hmm.
notice, I have a lot of photos by waterfalls.
Yes.
And it's just something very relaxing about the sound of the water. And it's just
Hmm.
beautiful to me. So, Iceland had so many waterfalls, like literally driving
Yes.
down the street. There's a waterfall. There's a waterfall, like on each side, everywhere. So it was really beautiful. And then I got a chance to see the Northern Lights. So it was an amazing
Oh, I didn't get to
experience.
see the Northern
Oh,
Lights.
you didn't?
No,
Neither did
because
I.
I went like in July
Okay.
when I
I went
went.
right after, like right when the season was over, which is so sad.
Yeah,
Okay.
didn't get to see the Northern Lights. But there are, I'm trying to think, what did I see when I was there? I went to the waterfall. I can't pronounce it. Was it Skogafoss or
I know what you're talking
you
about.
know which
Is it the
one I'm
one where you can
talking
go
about?
behind the waterfall?
Yes, where
Yes.
you can go behind. And as I was going there, I was just recording because I'm like, oh, this is so great. And I ended up recording a proposal.
Oh.
I caught someone proposing to his future wife while I was doing that. And I was
Oh.
like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I just happened to be recording right at that moment. But it's, oh my goodness. Iceland it's so beautiful there. I mean, the other place that I would say that I've been to, one of the most beautiful places I have ever been to is Croatia.
Oh.
Have you been to
I have
Croatia?
not.
Oh my goodness.
No.
It is literally one of the most beautiful countries I have ever visited, and I want to visit there again. I did like a whole trip where I started in Zagreb and went all the way down to Dubrovnik, and it was amazing. And I definitely want to go back again. So, oh, I'm so glad I've been to a place you haven't been to.
What was so
Wow.
beautiful about Croatia? Because that, like, I would like to go there, but it's not like at the top of my list.
It
So,
never is. It's never. I went with a friend, and we were trying to find places to go, and she's like, I really want to go to Bali. And then we were looking at other places, and I was like, I want to go to Bali too, but not right now. And Croatia had kind of been, I'd been hearing a lot about it. And I was like, let's go to Croatia. And she's like, why would you like, what is Croatia? Why would you? She hadn't even like really heard of it before. And, I said, I've heard really great things. The people that and I mostly had heard about yacht parties and things that they used to do, where, people are rent these boats and they have all these parties and all of that. So I thought it was kind of that way. But then I found this travel company, and I can't remember the name. It was some Travel Croatia or some travel company that I found, and I told them how long. So we ended up actually flying to Budapest, spending a few days in Budapest. And then we flew from Budapest to Zagreb. And we had it planned where we had a driver that took us from Zagreb to all like to Ravine and Split and Var and all of these places along and it's literally one of the most beautiful countries. We went to their like one of their national parks there. I'm telling you, it's like storybook.
oh,
It is that gorgeous and beautiful. And I just remember thinking, I could live here. I want to. I mean, it's a place that people haven't really. It's not on everyone's radar, and I almost kind of don't want it to be on everyone's radar because
Hmm.
it's one of those places that you don't want it to get ruined.
yeah.
But it's if you haven't been, I would put that on your list
You sold
because
me. It's
it's
not that hard. You sold me.
It is never on someone's, it's never like the top place. It's not like, oh, we're going to Spain or Portugal or
Yeah.
this or that. But I'm telling you, it is well worth it. And it's cheap, very cheap.
Mm.
Oh, that's good to
So
know. Yeah.
that's a benefit as well. So um, definitely a good thing. So tell me, what's something embarrassing that has happened to you while you've traveled? You've been to all these different places. I always like to know what has happened
I
while you've
have a
been on your
good
travels.
one.
Oh
I'm
no.
laughing thinking about it. Okay.
Oh yes.
So, my friends and I went to Aruba. And this was several years ago. And so I was trying to think of a good protective style for my hair
Mm-hmm.
because I have curly hair and I knew we were going to be on the beach, we were going to be in the water. So I didn't want to have to manage my hair curly. So I was talking to one of my friends. I was like, okay, so what are some options? We were brainstorming. She was like, oh, you should try a wig. And so this was my first time stepping into wearing a wig. And so I
Uh-huh.
took her advice and I tried a wig. It was a really nice wig. I spent hundreds of dollars on the wig, got it made and everything. So we go to Aruba. I have my wig. I think I'm looking good. And so we went to this little island that has like lots of activities. And so my
Mhm.
friends and I decided to do a banana boat. So is that like big floaty
Yes,
Mhm.
that
love
that
those.
gets pulled by a boat. And so
Oh no.
we we flipped over. The first time we flipped over, everybody went underwater
Oh my
and
gosh.
then, bounced up. We all had life jackets on. So we bounced up and then, everything was good to go. We kept going. And then it was a huge wave. And then we fell again. The banana boat like went on top of us and I went underwater and came up and I felt light. And then I started patting my hair and my wig was gone. It
Oh
was gone.
no.
Oh my goodness.
It was gone in the ocean. RIP to my wig. I have no
So
idea.
You still haven't found it?
Never
don't wear a
found
wig in the
it.
water.
Never found it. It's probably somewhere
Oh
at the
no.
bottom of the ocean. Um,
Oh, was it a nice wig?
it was a very nice
Yeah, she
wig.
spent $100.
I spent
Like,
I spent a lot of money, hundreds of dollars. I can't remember how much, but yeah, I had it
mm,
specially made, and so I was
Oh,
very hurt. This was my first wig, and my
I'm
hair,
sorry.
it was like I had like little braids just under it, and my friends were like, "What happened to your hair? Like what just happened?" And so I said, my wig is somewhere. It's at the bottom of the ocean, I guess, at this point.
oh
And so the
no.
rest of the trip, and this was like in the beginning of our trip. I probably day
Oh
Oh,
two of our
no.
trip. So the rest of the trip, I had to spend time doing my hair, and I did not have any products or anything. So my hair was
Oh my
dry,
gosh.
and it was just a bad hair day the entire trip that I was there. So
no.
yes,
So let that be a
Oh,
rule for all of those listening. Don't wear a wig in the water. Make
if
sure.
you do get it sewed down, I didn't have it sewed down. I had like little pins.
oh,
I didn't know.
Oh,
I didn't know any better. So
well, now we know. Now we all know.
yes, secure your wigs, people. Secure your wigs.
especially on the beach too, because of the wind and the elements. And if you want to do like zip lining or anything adventurous, like, yeah, I could see that being an issue.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that was super embarrassing though because my hair
Oh,
looked horrible the entire time.
no.
Oh no. I'm curious, as a travel blogger, and this is more, I guess, for my own personal kind of knowledge, but as a travel blogger, you get used to traveling places and looking at them in different ways because you know that you're about to communicate that knowledge to other people and share what you've learned on a trip with other people. So you did that for a while. I'm curious, what made you stop travel blogging?
It was a lot of it was the priorities. So
Mm,
like at the time, so I did do it for a few years, but it became too much. And one of the things you
mm,
have to recognize is I was doing everything myself. I was editing,
Mhm.
I was taking my own photos, and then I was working full time. And then at the time, I decided I wanted to do investments in real estate. So at the time, I also had bought another house and I was flipping the house. So I also
Mhm.
slowed down on travel because I needed to be more focused on the house project that I had started. So at that time, my priorities had shifted and I just couldn't balance everything. So I had to let the blogging go. And then also, I had not completely monetized my blogging business at the
Mhm.
time. Again, it started as a passion project. It was something I wanted to
Mhm.
do to inspire, to give advice. And so it wasn't something that I was really making a lot of money from. And I know nowadays people are making lots of money by being an influencer, travel blogging, and things like that. But at the time, I wasn't. So I had to kind of let it go. It's not something that I would say I completely let go and that I'm never going to do
Mhm.
again. But it was something I had to just, stop doing for a time period so that I can make sure that my priorities were in place. That I was, focused on my job and my investments.
Were you making any money on it?
I didn't really make much money. No.
So how,
Mhm.
because that's what I'm curious about. How do you monetize your blog?
Yeah, so around the time when I ended or when I stopped doing the blogging, I was starting to try to monetize it. So
Mhm.
you can monetize it by selling products. So I created like an Amazon referral link. And so I had like different products on there that I recommended to people. So I had started
Mhm.
doing that. So that's a way you can monetize by having products on there. Also by partnering with other businesses. So whenever you refer people or whenever they use your link, then you would get paid by it by promoting it. So that's a big way
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
influencers make money is by promoting businesses or promoting products.
That makes sense. And I think like also now it's easier as a micro influencer to get those deals. And I think, even a year or two ago, you had to have millions or hundreds of thousands of followers
Yeah.
to get those deals. So,
Yeah, and when I started it, it was 2015 when I did my
mm,
social media page and then, launched my blog in 2016. So, I don't think that the way it is now, it's definitely come a long way. So it's a
mhm,
lot easier to monetize your blog and your websites.
What's different now that you've noticed with travel bloggers and influencers than when you were doing it? Like
mhm,
what changes have
TikTok.
happened?
Everybody's
Yes.
on TikTok, and I think it's a lot easier to go viral. Like people go viral
mhm.
off of the smallest thing. So TikTok has been a big platform for influencers. Video content creation is a big thing that people are doing. So just the way that they get their messaging out to the audience is a little bit. I would say it's changed a little bit.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
It seems, yeah.
Yeah, and
Especially
podcasts,
with
what you
TikTok.
all are doing,
Yeah.
are very popular too. So congrats on the podcast. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's I call it a labor of love because it's a lot of work, but it's something
Mhm.
that we really enjoy doing. We haven't monetized it at this point yet, um, but definitely was curious to hear from you on tips that you might have for
Mhm.
new content creators that are looking to kind of, and from your marketing background, what would you recommend to new content creators to be successful in this business?
Yeah, so there are a lot of tools out there. Whenever I had my blog, I was using Google Analytics and Google Search Console.
Mhm.
So you can track the performance of your websites using those tools. Also, be visible with the website and with social media. Make sure that you're posting often and staying in touch with your audience. I think that those things are key. And then a big thing as well is making sure that you're delivering content that people need and that they want.
Mhm.
Um, they're not going to follow you if they're not interested in what you're delivering. So make sure you know who your target market is and that you're delivering the content that's helpful to them. and be authentic. So I love that you said it's a passion project, it's something that you enjoy doing. And I think that that's a big part of it because people see if you're being authentic or not. If you're just
Mhm.
out there to make money, then I mean, sometimes it works, but I think being authentic and really doing it because you care, because you enjoy it, I think that that's the part that you have to stay true to.
And in terms of being authentic, how has travel influenced your life or your perspective in the world, on the world?
Man, you see, I just light up when I talk about travel. Like, I'm passionate about
Yes.
it. I love it. Like I said, I started traveling at a young age, but it was on family road trips. Like, my family and I would go visit family members in California. And keep in mind, we would travel from Arkansas to California or to Nevada and to Michigan. So we did that a lot. Like, we were road warriors traveling
Mhm.
all around the US, which was fun. So I really enjoyed it. And then my first real, I guess, trip outside the country was to Guadalajara, Mexico when I was in college.
Mhm.
And so that opened my eyes because I was immersed in the culture. And it has really opened my eyes. It allowed me to get uncomfortable and get outside of the box and really meet a lot of people. I've learned so much. When I travel, I try to go to museums and learn more about, the local customs or what's
Mhm.
popular in the city. I like to do what locals do whenever
Mhm.
I visit various countries. I like to meet locals. I like to talk to people. So, like I said, it really opened my eyes. It's provided me with a lot of new experiences, a lot of new friends, and I love it. Like I've learned so much with traveling and going to different places.
Oh, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
I guess what advice would you give to those that are afraid to go outside of their country and explore?
Just do it. So I
Yeah.
my first trip out the country, I was scared. I'm a small town girl from southern Arkansas and I only imagine going to places that I've been to. Like, I've gone to places that I've read about in books, like the Great Wall of China or
Mhm.
Stonehenge. Like,
Mhm.
I've been to these places that I read about in history class. And I was scared on my first trip when I went to Mexico. I was nervous. And one of my friends talked me into it. And we went and we had the most amazing time. So I would say just do it. Get out of your comfort zone. That's the only way that you're going to grow is if you just take the chance.
What's the best travel advice anyone's ever given you?
That's a really good question. Let me see.
Or maybe what's the best travel advice you could give to other people?
Yeah, I would say pick a place and go.
Mhm.
There's
Simple
so
and
much of the world to
effective.
see. And there's this quote that I really like, and it's by St. Augustine, and it was on my blog, and it was, um, I know I'm not quoting it directly, but it was something along the lines of, um, the world is like a book, and those who don't travel only read one page. And that's
Mhm.
Mm,
powerful because it's
yeah.
like you're not opening your eyes up to what the world has to offer. God's creation is amazing, it's magnificent. And I'm just happy and blessed that I've had the chance to go to these places and really see and experience it for myself. And I don't take what people say. Like many people have told me, "Oh, you shouldn't go to Colombia." My first time going to Colombia, they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't go. It's not safe there." But I decided to go anyway, and I had an
Yeah.
amazing time.
I
So
love
I think,
Colombia.
yeah. So I think it's important to go and see for yourself. Pick a place and just
Mhm.
go.
Agreed. Agreed. That's a beautiful. I'll have to look up that quote and put that on our description because I love that. That makes so
Yeah.
much sense. And just to close this out, what are your top two things that you would take with you when you're traveling?
My top two things are my portable charger because I have to
Mhm.
make sure that my phone is always charged. And then those
Mhm.
travel cubes that I talked about earlier. I love to pack lightly. So those help me, keep everything organized and make sure that I'm, compressing my items in my luggage.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I know I'm
Yeah, so
inspired
much.
even more so now just to think about monetizing our podcast and just, planning our itineraries. I took some notes on Google Travel and TripAdvisor and Lone Planet and different things just to kind of get better at our travel game, being that we've got a trip coming up in the next couple weeks.
Well,
So,
I think you
Yeah.
guys are experts yourself going to the places you're about to go to in a couple of weeks. So I'm a little jealous, actually.
hey,
Uh,
well, you're always welcome. If we have a trip
mhm.
coming up, let us know. And I would love to go on one of your upcoming trips. I'm one of those
Yeah.
people, passport ready. I will, I go. So when people tell me, Diana,
Mhm.
we're going on a trip, I'm the friend that you can count on that will be there.
I love
So,
it. Oh, we didn't
yes.
talk about that. The travel buddies who who leave you hanging. That's a big
Oh,
thing.
I know.
That was
That's a
we
actually
did an
whole
episode on that.
nother.
yeah,
That
that's
is
like
a
a whole
whole
other
podcast.
episode. But that was one of my biggest travel blogs was about choosing the right travel buddy.
Mhm.
Oh, I wish your
Yeah.
blog was still live so that we could check out some of the articles that you
No.
had. Because that, yeah, definitely, that's a whole podcast episode.
Mhm.
Uh, who to travel
Yes.
with, who not to travel with.
And
Absolutely.
your travel style too. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
This was fun. It was a lot of fun, and you're always welcome back. So if you
Well,
ever
thank you. I appreciate that.